want to dig deeper into this, but
Yes.
we're talking about books. Listen,
Yes.
I want to shift the conversation a little bit. Salute, I heard you got a book out. I read it, so I know you got it out.
Yes.
Let's talk about it. What's the title of the book? What's it about? What's going on?
So, my cousin came home from prison 6 years ago.
Peace.
Anthony Green.
Got you.
And I looked at his life when he and I were talking. And of course, all of the things that we see going on today, they were still occurring. And me being a teacher, having this title of educator, which is nothing more than a social engineer, I said to myself, how can we together quell some of the violence, that we're seeing out here? I fell ill for a time and were unable to put out the book the way we wanted to at that time. But again, there's no such thing as time. So this was the appropriate moment, for us to put the book out. So the book is called The Last of the Wild Bunch, The Miseducation of Anthony Green. And what it is talking about his life from childhood to now. And I wrote it in such a way where I acknowledge the fact that people, unfortunately, at this present moment, they don't like to read, and they don't like to read big words or anything like that. We live in a very microwave type of, what I'm saying? The attention span isn't there. So I had to take that into consideration because I didn't want to write an academic book. I didn't want to write a tell-all, and when he was speaking to me, I said, you know what, man, let's put this book out. And he allowed me to craft it in such a way where the book looks like a children's book. So on the cover, you have a picture of he and his mother, and it's a drawing, a rendering, like a painting, like. And that was the first time that he goes to jail for a stint. He doesn't go to junior high school or anything like that, right? Because he goes to jail at 10, right? And he does a 4-year stint. The first time he goes, he's 9 years old. So I said, so I've read a lot of books about individuals that were living in the streets, you know what I'm saying, in the underworld, in the darkness.
Yeah.
And I said, and you and I as teachers, there's certain individuals that we can't reach, and we can't reach them because we haven't lived that experience.
Right.
But academia will have us believing that we could save people.
Right.
And we don't save anyone. What we're doing is we're assisting in reflection.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
So I took my cousin's life and said, like, man, listen, the first time you ever seen jail, you were 9 years old. Then you were 10. Then you stayed in there until you were 14. You came out, and then you caught a gun charge at 16. So now you're placed on probation. So if you do anything wrong, you got to go back and do the duration of the time, right? But then he gets caught and convicted of murder at 18 and a half.
Wow. So
he only does 4 years in total outside, quote unquote, free, right? Or have a privileged life. Yeah. So I said to myself, man, that's different. Yeah. But what I did also was, I said, cuz, let me, and this isn't going into any, gang culture or anything like that. The word cuz.
Right.
I said, I said, we have a lot of individuals out here, especially me being a teacher. I said, the children that need to be spoken to are the ones that are attracted to your lifestyle. They're attracted to it. 50 puts out power. You know what I'm saying? I think we all seen the Frank Lucas movie. We talk about American Gangster.
Yeah.
We'll talk about people naming themselves after these Italian mobsters, Gotti, and you know what I'm saying?
Even black drug dealer Rick Ross now,
50 Cent. Right. You know what I'm saying? So there's this affinity towards that lifestyle.
Right.
So I said, you know what, man? We don't know. We meaning regular, common individuals have no idea of that life. We see it, but that's all we got. And then when we go behind the wall, we don't know what life is like behind that wall. Only you know that. So let's put out your paperwork. Let's put your rap sheet inside the book. So what we did was we put his rap sheet inside the book, because we oftentimes hear individuals talking about paperwork. But you and I, we don't know what paperwork look like. And neither do these little young brothers and sisters. So now this is an exemplar in our language. So now we get to see what paperwork looks like, and we get to see whether or not you worked with the government as an informant. We get to see where you really living this life as a guerrilla and all this stuff like that, as portrayed when you come home, because prison, unfortunately, is seen as a rites of passage in our community, so-called community, right? So now we demystify street life. So now a regular individual, a child that may be influenced, they can now say, because our children today, they bold. They can tell, yo, you talking all that tough stuff. I got a book in my hand right now that's talking about paperwork. Let me see what your paperwork look like. Now, let me see if if you snitched, if you work with the government, because you talking all this guerrilla stuff. You talking about all these bodies that you got. You know what I'm saying? And you may have bodies, but you work with the government. So they might be telling you to go out there and kill people for them.
Right. Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So we demystify that. So what you're gonna have in there, you're gonna have his paperwork. It's an easy to read, and then there's a story in there that comes out the New York Times. Right. It comes out of the New York Times. Right. And what it showed you, he's implicated in a murder that he did not commit. But because his name was brought up and they knew about our family, attention was now placed on him. A spotlight was placed on him. Wow. So that's what people are going to get out of reading a book. Like I talk the talk and I walk the walk. Right. I truly am out here. When I got into education and I started teaching, I wanted to help children to reflect on life. Right. And when I put out this book with my cousin, that's our intention. We demystifying street life. He's hitting them from one side and I'm hitting them from another. Gotcha. You know what I'm saying? And as you can see, I have a spiritual understanding and he does too. And the thing is, I don't look down on no brothers and sisters that are in the streets, man. They're human beings, man. Right. I don't give a damn. People. You know what I'm saying? And they're victims of circumstance. Right, yes, sir. You know what I'm saying? Right. And people might like look down on them and stuff like that. But damn it, yo, when Barack Obama was in office, people were getting killed on the South Side. Yeah. People were getting killed on the West Side. Yeah, man. Chicago. People that were once in his cabinet were running Chicago as mayor. Yeah, Rahm Emanuel. And people were still being killed. So you understand what I'm saying? So like we can't get all high and mighty like we're holier than thou and that these people are beneath us, because they're not. Right. They deserve a right to life and to live, but they don't have the opportunity to ponder. You know what I'm saying? And you can even find that in the Apocrypha. You cannot gain wisdom because wisdom is tied to leisure time. You need time to sit down. Right. In silence. Yeah. Get rid of all the cares, all the fears, all the worry, all your business. Yeah. And just take time with the Most High God, which is yourself. Yeah. Yeah. But we get caught up in society, and that's what our book is about. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when people get the opportunity to read this thing, man, like, it's you know, I ain't gonna pat myself on the back, I ain't gonna toot my horn, but there's no book in this genre that does what we're doing. They're targeting 14 to 19-year-olds, people that have slipped through the cracks, that are possibly slipping through the cracks. We're saying, listen, we see you, we love you, and this is what we need, and we hear you. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? And then the content of the book is for people that are older, but we're specifically targeting those group of individuals that are out there that believe that there's no one that hears them. Yeah. We hear them and we love them, and that's what we're saying in that book. Yeah, well, I brought it immediately on my Kindle. I read it.
I was like, dang, I want more. I'm loving this. But I also know it was for the young adults. But even as I'm far from a young adult. But
Yeah,
I
my grades.
appreciate it. Yeah. And I said, oh, this is a heavy book. I remember, I got to see it in its embryonic stage. I remember when you just had it in the notebook. And I was like, oh, this is great. So I'm proud of the manifestation of it.
Thank you.
I know that you did it independently. Is that correct? What's your publishing company?
Absolutely. Saratoga and Bergen. So Saratoga and Bergen is some people would say homage, or or paying homage, to the generations before us. My mother, and her family members and friends, they grew up in a place called the Market, which is on Prosper, between Saratoga and Howard. And these were friends, but this was family. Everyone on that hill, they're family. Yeah. So you may have individuals have relationships with their next door neighbor, and all of a sudden they become blood tied and stuff like that. Right. So this is a family story, right. And we have another one coming out that's going to be a little more extensive. It's 170 pages. It's going to have some essays in there of individuals from the family, because when Biggie wrote that lyric, it's the only time I'll ever say this word. Remember them niggas from the hill up in Brownsville, right? That's the hill. We from Ocean Hill, Brownsville. That's right. And if it wasn't for Ocean Hill, you wouldn't even have any so-called black teachers. So we come from that line. Right. That rebellious. You know what I'm saying? So so that's the family right there, and that's nice. We're gonna let that be known. Yeah, we're gonna let that be known.
That's nice, man. So I know it's on Amazon. I want people to support it. I got the Kindle edition. I loved it. I know we're in Corona right now. Is there a way I can get a hard copy? Because I want you to sign a copy.
So we have it on all platforms. We have it on Amazon. So you can get it in an ebook. You can get it on paperback. If you want a hardcover, you can get it in hardcover, and that's coming through Barnes and Noble. But I would say pause, on the whole hardcover for this particular piece. I had to put it out there because I want to know what the hardcover looks like. So it was more experimentation. So I don't want anybody to go out there and spend $30 on this particular hardcover. You know what I'm saying? That's just righteous. Right. Now the second one that we put out is going to be 170 pages. That hardcover is going to be a tabletop book. Nice. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to be in its art form and things of that nature. So I would say definitely go out there and spend. But right now, we have it in ebook. You can get it on your Nook. You can get it on your Kindle. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's across all platforms. Yes, sir. Yeah. So like I said, man, this is a righteous thing that we're doing. Yes, sir. And I'm hoping, not even hoping because that's a promise, but right. the intent is to have this in the prisons, the juvenile detention centers, the schools. Me, of course, having this title as educator, I could put together a curriculum, lesson plans. If they so want, I can make him available to speak to the children that a lot of people like you and I, cannot speak to, that he can speak to that pain, and that's and for me, like that's what this work is about. You know what I'm saying?
I was like, man, this is enjoyable. And I was like, oh, that's it.
I really appreciate that because I didn't want to, he and I, we didn't want to do a tell-all because the whole thing is his life experience. But we also understand the sensitive nature of the streets, and like we're looking at I was looking at Akon speaking to my son, and Akon talking about the kid, the young man, 6'9", about this whole snitching and stuff like that. I'm cut from a different cloth. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't come from prison or anything like that. My role model were my uncles. I had a hardworking uncle, you know what I'm saying, on the legal side. His name was Sam. But I had my Uncle Les, who they call Whip. And he was, may he rest in peace. I know that energy is still out there. Yeah. And he was in every true sense a gangster. You know what I'm saying? And I looked up to him. I remember when I was 17 years old, I wanted to buy some crack. And I was about to get into that game. He overheard my conversation. And he was just like, yo, you must be one of the stupidest cats. You know what I'm saying? He's like, yo, you don't see my life and how I live. I don't want you living like this. So he sat me down, you know, and he talked to me. And he said he helped save my life.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Because I could have easily went down that road because crack was available.
Yeah.
Everybody could go to the game, and my family was into the game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But that shows you the heart. And then also there's another brother in there. His name is Donnie Smallwood. And Donnie Smallwood is like a surrogate uncle because that was my uncle's best friend. They were brothers essentially. It was Chip, it was Whip, and it was Donnie.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And they were part of something called the John Quell when they were younger, but they were best of friends.
Wow.
And as you're reading this, people may say like, oh, you know, Donnie Smallwood, he was a drug dealer. Listen, situation is a circumstance. Who was this man heart like? You could come to him if you needed your rent paid. He bought a building.
Yeah.
And people, if they didn't have their rent, you know, do you understand that this man wasn't kicking you out of his building?
Wow.
He bought a store so that, you know, people could go in there and have a running tab. You understand what I'm saying? So you would never be without food on your table.
Wow.
If you were working and you needed and you were working this quote unquote legit job and you were working for the city and you needed a uniform, he would give you money and he would buy your uniform for you.
Wow.
And he wouldn't ask for the money back. You know what I'm saying? I remember being a young child and in the summertime you'd be running the streets and all that stuff like that. This man out his pocket would have coach chartered buses outside the projects for every child to get on those buses, and he would take you to an amusement park or some type of park. He would give you money so that you could have all the fun in the world. He would have food out there for you and drink out there, and you would play to your heart's content, and it was on his dime. And if there was any adults that were on the bus and there was some child that wanted to get on, the adult had to get off the bus, and he had individuals that drove, and they would have to drive with the other individuals, and they would escort the children, you know, to the playgrounds and things like that. That's who that man was. That's who that man is, and that's family. And that's where I come from. So when I see individuals out there that's making all this money and they're buying all these fancy cars and things like that, and the hood is starving, yo, if the people don't eat, you look like food. And that's what's happening out here. Yeah. So we wanted to be real responsible when we put out this book. And that's what we did. It's a righteous thing.
It's a righteous thing, man. Salute. Well, listen,
thank you.
You know, you ain't a guest. You fams.
I appreciate you. I really appreciate you, brother. I love you for you know, always being support, because I've helped, you know, a lot of brothers out there, man. And, you know, people get a little bit of fame and fortune and they forget who they are. You understand what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, man, I'm going to tell you like this. Those Federal Reserve notes, while they're good, they don't mean a damn thing. They're not real. Federal Reserve notes, they're legal tender. They're not lawful. You understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, that doesn't mean anything. You know, and the unfortunate part is, man, I've done right by a lot of men. You know what I'm saying? And they forget those type of things. But for me, is I got Christ consciousness. I know who the Most High God is. And I'm going to continue doing everything that I can, because the one thing that I do know, that I'm a servant. That's all I am.
That's it.
And that's first and foremost. So everything that I do has to be intentional, you know, and it has to be of God. So when I work with my brother Black Ice, you know what I'm saying, who's on Deaf Poetry, you can listen to his work and what he's been doing, did it in the past and in the present. You know, he's a brother that's very principled. I work with another brother named The Last Emperor. When we was in the music industry, we were principled. You know what I'm saying? I've always involved myself with individuals who were socially conscious and moving by the spirit, you know what I'm saying, of the Most High. I don't need to deal with the devilishment, you know what I'm saying? And at any point in time, if any Federal Reserve notes weren't for me, they just weren't for me. You know what I'm saying? I have no regrets in life. And that's another thing. Inside our book, we strapping down, you know, my cousin says he has no regrets whatsoever about anything that he's done. Anything. That's a man. He's owned up to everything that he's done. So why would I regret anything? Because I would change the course of my life. And we are the way, the truth, and the light.
That's it.
So we can't change our past, but what we can do, we can be the light in the tunnel for those young individuals to say like, yo, this is where you need to go, man.
Yeah.
You don't need to go in this direction.
Yeah.
So that's what this book is about.
Yo, man. Listen, I gotta have you back. Please, brothers and sisters out there, support this man's work, support this book. It's a powerful book. Especially it's for all ages, but I know it's geared for the young adults. So you got a brother, sister that might be on the path. Share this tool with them.
Right. Even the brothers that are in that are incarcerated. You know what I'm saying? Like
copy.
You know. Yeah, man. And it's just like, you know.
Yeah.
Those brothers deserve, you know, a second chance at life, especially those brothers that were locked up for these ungodly numbers, man, like drugs and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And you know, even when we get into like the taking of life, all of that stuff, man, like, you know, it's war.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's not to excuse any of these behavior, because life is a precious thing, and man should not be taking a life of man nor animal.
Nope.
Nor animal.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, it's just like, what gives a judge a right to say who can come home and who can't? You know, we starting to see that there's a lot of skeletons and a lot of these nice things. Like I was watching the whole Jeffrey Epstein joint. You know, Alan Dershowitz is looking a little crazy right now. Bill Clinton looking real wiggly right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That means Hillary looking real crazy right now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, who are people to be casting? You know what I'm saying? Throwing stones. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, so that's what I said. This is an ungodly world.
They sound like
it's an ungodly world right now. Yeah. So, you know,
I'm saying, be careful what you say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Listen, shalom.
I appreciate you, brother.
Love,
yes,
brother.
Indeed.
And brothers and sisters, hit subscribe, support this man's book, man. And we're gonna go to y'all.
Thank you so much.
No doubt.
Love.